a lot of people would call this a dark period for hair metal.
I thought I was an adult. I'm scared right now.
Wrong time, right album.
That was Bond blessing young Ryan.
All
Oh,
right, look at that fucking Lillian X and explosions going off. Ooh, those explosions kind of remind me of my sex life.
you should have been there pulling the puppet strings of these bands that totally fucked it up and sold out.
There's one person who likes carved in stone. It's Metal Mike.
Okay, this is killer. This is killer. This is killer.
I'm like,
Oh,
holy fuck, a new Cinderella album.
who were these guys? They recorded some shit in their mama's basement in '88, and it's fantastic.
I'm like, what
Yeah,
the fuck is that? And why did nobody tell me?
this is the recipe for how it should have been done.
Fuck, this is who I am.
Yeah,
So take it or leave it. And I took it.
killer, dude. Like that's the most '80s shit I've ever heard.
I'm like, son of a bitch. Warrant went grunge too. The AC/DC is kind of like sex, even when it's not that great, it's still pretty good.
Circle with the R and then my last name.
Oh, what the fuck is that?
So
Actually, I was
I'm
just checking to see if I got any nose hair. No, I'm kidding. Look, I came here to do two things: chew bubble gum and talk hair metal. And it looks like I'm almost out of bubble gum. Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Today, man, this is an episode that I'm super pumped about because I have my good buddy Ryan here today to talk about the 20 greatest hair metal albums of almost a forgotten period in hair metal history, 1993 to 1995. Ryan, love having you on. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And this time I am much more well rested. I came off of a 72 last time, 72-hour shift, and sleeping a total of about 8 hours in 3 days. It's amazing what sleep deprivation will do to you. So I'm feeling better. I can remember that one of my favorite albums by White Lion is called Pride, Not Hungry. Fuck, that said something right there. But anyway, I'm better.
All right. All
I'm
right.
on vacation now, so I'm feeling good. Um, but yes, what a cool era. It's like, dude, 93, you still got those guys that were like, okay, we're cooking something up in maybe late 91, 92, when it was really hitting hard.
Yep.
And you had 93 kind of still delivering. But I'll
Yep.
tell you what, dude, the ones I have on this list, like I still crank. I still crank all the time. I think they're killer. I think they delivered 93 to 95. I don't they didn't give a shit, neither do I. I love it.
Hey, and look, Ryan's not wearing a hat. So for everybody who was like me and thought he was bald, look, that dude's got a full head of hair.
Yeah, I
And
wish.
and wearing the nice white snake shirt, I decided to go with a tough what comes around goes around.
Great.
So
Eh,
um
yeah.
awesome, great to have Ryan here. So gonna bring out something framed from the old collection. This is a vintage 1987. I hate the glare, but ad from Billboard magazine for Motley Crue's Girls, Girls, Girls. It
Very
says,
nice.
it says at the top, judge us by the company we keep. Only two rock acts have debuted in the top five since 1980. Bruce Springsteen's The River and Springsteen's Live, and Motley Crue is the third one. So
Wow.
maybe I love the first two songs on this. After that, the album gets a little iffy, but
Yeah.
kind of a cool piece from vintage 80s Motley Crue.
Very
So
good.
with
Yeah.
that, before we get into it, hey, would love it if you subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. And hey, you have the option to join and become a member. You get extra benefits, unreleased videos, shit like that. So I have no problem if you don't. It's an option out there. I just appreciate you being here. So, oh, and I think I might have pointed this out on a different episode, but Ryan might be hearing this for the first time. We passed 2,000 subscribers sometime late last night on the channel. So if I know I joke around a lot, but seriously, I can't tell you how much I appreciate everyone's support and the fact that the channel in 10 months is doing what it does just blows me away. So thank you. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, well deserved.
Thank you. And you're a huge part. The videos that I have with you are amazing. So love having you on every week. And with that, we each chose 10 albums from 1993 to 1995. No, I'll be honest. When we first agreed to do this, I thought, are there gonna be 20 albums between us between 1993 to 95? And when I finally got my list down, like I had to cut out like
Oh yeah.
8 albums, and that's not including the stuff that you have. So this, even though a lot of people would call this a dark period for hair metal, there are a ton of phenomenal albums during this period.
Oh, totally, dude. First of all, thank you, Metal Mike, for this T-shirt. It
Oh
was a
yeah.
gift from the guy. And second, Motley Girls, Girls, Girls. There's 3 songs on that album for me: Girls, Wild Side, and All in the Name of Rock, which might be my favorite.
Right.
But that aside, yes, agreed, dude. I have so many honorable mentions on this span of time alone. I could do probably 20,
Yeah.
maybe 15, really, from '93, and it killed me to leave a lot of these out because I'm
Oh,
like, oh, dude, this is criminal to leave these out. But I love the list. I think yours is going to be killer too. I think there's some random shit in there that people always love, and I'm really looking forward to see what you got.
all right. So I think the plan and hope maybe this will just be what you and I can. We're gonna work our way down. We started 93 to 95. Maybe next week we'll go 92, 91, and work our way down to the beginning of hair metal. So that's it. That's in the plan somewhere down there.
All
So
right, cool.
with that, Ryan, what is your number 10 best hair metal album from 93 to 95?
All right, cool. Well, this just shows the strength of this list because I have one of my favorite bands, Winger's Pull from 1993, kicking off the list at number 10. And dude, I could have made it number 1, to be honest. Like, that's how much I love this album. But there's a ton of good stuff on here, and I felt like, you know what? Let's kick it off strong and go with Winger. So I got this thing that there's bands with the big 3 out there. You got, Warrant, White Lion, Europe, Danger Danger, House of Lords, and Winger, and they pulled it off so nicely. They got a little bit harder and a little bit more raw, but they did it very well. That's like the way this is the recipe for how it should have been done. Great sound, great live tunes. The consistency on this Winger album is always really amazed me. It's just it's one of those albums you could just play, and that's speaks so highly of that. So you got album tracks like Junkyard Dog, Blind Revolution, Mad, Down Incognito, The Lucky One, No Man's Land. I mean, basically, like I said, if any '80s band wanted to like continue being catchy and hard and hooky, this is the blueprint, and I think they really nailed it. So kudos to Winger doing this in '93.
Yeah. Hey, if you hear any whimpering, Charlie is here. Charlie had her puppies, and so they're kind of whimpering. Charlie's going to be here for a couple days, and then she's going to go back out to this farm until her puppies are ready to go. So anyway, I
Cool.
love
Well,
having Charlie back. So
congratulations, Dad.
you might hear some. Remember, they're not mine, but you might hear a little bit of like noise going on in the background. I love Pull by Winger. If you hadn't included it, I would have. There are times when I think that might be my favorite Winger album.
Uh-huh.
Um, I love the other ones, but it seems like now when I think, you know what, I'm going to listen to some Winger, I start with Pull. And I don't want to get into the other albums that are comparative to that era because some of them are going to be coming up in my list.
Right.
But there's a group of bands that really excelled at growing
Yeah.
musically and lyrically, but not completely abandoning what got them where they were, and Winger's Pull is one of them.
Yeah, and real quick, I saw them live, like, I don't know, 2012, 13, 14, something like that,
Yeah.
at a little club in San Jose, California, and they played a number of these songs, and what I realized with Winger was, a lot of the songs off this album, the crowd can sing every word and every lyric on this album,
Yeah.
unlike the real high stuff in the first two. And I think that was a real crowd pleaser. And I was shocked at the response from the crowd of everything that came off of Pull that they played in their set list. And it really made me open my eyes to the strength of this album.
Yeah. So I saw Winger last summer. They
Oh,
played
awesome.
at the fairgrounds during the county fair, and
Uh-huh.
there was a decent crowd out there. I think, well, shit, Lita Ford also played that day, I think.
Oh, cool.
So, I know they played Down Incognito. Now, this wasn't like an hour and a half. They probably had 50 to 55 minutes, so
Right.
it was a short.
Yeah.
So I think they only played Down Incognito
I see.
from that album. But yeah, it doesn't have the hit power of their earlier albums, but man, it's just solid all the way through. And like I said, one of my favorite albums from that band.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. My number 10. And yeah, like you said, like the fact that a band, and I don't know if I put them in exact order, but I know I put my favorites at the front. But
Yeah, I see.
number 10 comes from one of the, the upper echelon bands of this genre, one of my favorite bands of this genre. It's Tesla's Bust a Nut.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So I had to, there's so many albums, so I had to go revisit it today because I'm like, shit, I know I love that album. What are the songs? And I kept going, oh wow, look at that. Oh shit, check that. Oh, I forgot about that. So now it debuted at number 20 and it
Mm.
went gold, which
Yeah.
is shocking. I mean, Motley Crue's 94 went gold, and I would have thought that would have been the only hair metal album but Bust a Nut went gold, which just goes to show the staying power that they had. So anyway, track number 1, Gate/Invited. Solution, Action Talks. Check out the guitar riff at the beginning of that. Mama's Fool, and then A Lot to Lose. Mama's Fool and A Lot to Lose were kind of hits. They did get some radio play. But this, shit, balloons again. And I never, I never know what I did to do. I know how to do this.
Oh,
I
killer.
know, and I know some other shit, but
There it is.
what'd you
That's the
do? Oh, no way.
yeah.
Okay. So now we know how to get fucking balloons. All right. So
And
balloons
when
for
you FaceTime
Tesla.
a 4-year-old with when your wife's at home and I'm at the fire station, I give them balloons.
Oh,
I
there you
give
go. There you go. There you go. So they had a great three album run before this. Mechanical Resonance. Well, maybe four. Great Radio Controversy. There was the 5-man acoustical jam and
Yeah.
Psychotic Supper. And they kept it going during the dark period with Bust a Nut, which for 1994, Bust a
I
Nut.
know. I've thought that too.
But musically, really solid album.
So it was Mama's Fool, right? That was the one you're talking about? Yeah, that was my choice cut too. Like,
Yep.
that was the song that I was like, "Oh, they still got it. They didn't change. They didn't try to get updated. They didn't do shit. Like, this is killer." But I
Yep.
always agreed, like, Bust a Nut, like, maybe they thought it was cute and clever and, like, when they were cooking it up, but, like and you know what? Maybe they're just doing like Jeff Keith does. Like I said, he's a smoking, drinking, skinny little 80s dude that just said, "Fuck it, I'm bust a nut. This is killer."
Yep, yep. And they never did try to change with the times. So they're like, "Oh, everybody's getting all serious. Fuck it, we're calling this thing Bust a Nut and see
I
what
love
happens."
it.
And it went gold. So
Yeah.
that's my number 10. What is your number 9?
Okay. So this is a guy named Jeff Paris, and you may know Jeff Paris as more of a songwriter. I think we kind of touched on him once, but he's got 3 albums out in the heyday. Really cool, solid stuff. But this one is from '93, and it's called Lucky This Time. Like I said, great songwriter, started in the mid '80s, did the song Gotta Let Go with Lita Ford, which happens to be my favorite Lita Ford song. Uh, Really cool chorus. He worked with Y&T when they did Down for the Count. The Y&T boys weren't too stoked on getting an outside rider, but they admitted it was either an interview or a magazine article that they ended up really hitting it off with him. He was respectful, did a great job, but he was a writer on that album, which I love. He also worked on Night Songs, so that's kind of cool too. But this album kicks off with one of my favorite melodic rock rippers, and that is the song "Lucky This Time." made famous by Mr. Big
Mm,
on Lean Into It. So it's like CDFF Lucky this time on that album. There's like one slight variation that if you're a psycho like me and you pick this song apart and you fucking love it as much as I do, you know that there's like a timing difference
mm.
and that's it. And it's just in the right before the chorus. I won't even bore you with that. But anyway, check out Wrong Side of Love, House on Fire, Touched by Love, um, Baby Break Mine. But it's like this song really tells me like no wonder he's a songwriter. Like every song has hit potential. And I was looking at the track listing and going off on my CD because it's not streaming on my CD, and I go, dude, this is why this guy's a songwriter because he's a strong singer and a strong guitar player, but he's not like Dave Meniketti strong or
Right.
Eric Martin or something like that. But he's solid. But like, no wonder he writes killer songs. And it was more so like soundtrack quality hit material on this album. So if you don't know Jeff Paris, and he's kind of behind the scenes to a lot of people,
Yeah.
I would check out his first three albums. They're excellent.
Isn't he kind of, I might say this wrong, but like pop rock AOR
Yeah, like
House of Lords ish, maybe?
yeah, yeah, even more poppy than that.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
there's a song, it'll come to me in a minute, but it's on the first album, Wired Up, I think. And it's like it's anyway, it'll come to me, but
Yeah.
I was listening to an interview with him and he actually said that it's his most proud song that he'd written, and I was like, "Oh, killer, dude. Like that's the most 80s shit I've ever heard." And I'm like, "Dude, you're like still preaching it in 2000 whatever. Like
Yeah.
it was in the last couple of years." And I'm like, "Good on you, dude. Like it's good shit." So, I was stoked to hear that. But yeah, very keyboardy poppy stuff. But this album is a little
Sure.
harder, but it's got that like real hooky shit. Like Lucky This Time, dude. Like you can't deny that song. To me, I love that song. It's my favorite off Lean Into It.
I'm not somebody who's like, oh, I need my bands to be heavy. I mean, I like shit. I love Brian Adams, like
Yeah,
at least his older 80s shit. I like that kind of I like Journey. I like
yeah,
Lover, I like Night Rangers. So I was
yeah, totally.
definitely, I liked a lot of harder stuff, but man, poppy ballads, some keyboards. I mean,
Yeah.
it works for me. So
It's called
um,
Can't Let Go. It came to me.
okay,
Can't Let Go. Yeah,
can't let go.
you
But
probably hear it before.
But I'll be honest, Jeff Paris isn't, I know of him
Right.
and I know some of his songs, but he's never been somebody that that I have an extensive knowledge. So I need to
Totally.
check it out
Yeah.
because
It's kinda hard to find this one.
is it on YouTube and stuff?
It's on YouTube. It's not on Spotify. I don't know about the other streaming stuff, but
I just
it's on.
listen to shit off YouTube,
Okay, perfect.
really.
That then you'll find it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you'll be like, "Okay, this is killer. This is killer. This is killer. This is good." It's like, that's the album to check out.
Right. Right. The what kind of because I hadn't revisited House of Lords in forever, and then you
Mm,
reminded me about that, and I'm like, shit. Sometimes you put shit away, and you're like, oh,
totally.
I forgot how good it was. So,
Oh, yeah.
all right, my number 9. I I love this band, and I've tried to pump them up a few times. They were in one of my hair metal bands that could have and should have, but didn't. They're not really a hair metal band. They come more from the AC/DC side of rock, and the band is Dirty Looks,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
album is Chewing on the Bit from 1994. So I know I pumped up Cool from the Wire that came out in I think 88. The follow-up Turn of the Screw came out 89, very good. They did have some albums before Cool from the Wire, but mainly like demo like material.
Yeah.
In 92, they put out a great album, Five Easy Pieces. But Chewing on the Bit, I vividly remember there's a couple of, I went to my advanced individual training for the military in Fort Sam Houston in the summer of 94. And I
Yeah.
remember at the PX store, they had cassettes and CDs. And I found this on cassette and I'm like, oh shit, I know that album Cool from the Wire. That's pretty good. So I bought that and I'll give you some songs. My Shallow Grave. Last Cigarette, which I know it's a smoking reference. I used to smoke, but that fucking song rips. And Dead White and Blue. But
Oh,
this
sweet.
very gritty, rough vocals. But like I said, AC/DC kind of style. You're not gonna get ballads from this band, which is kind of a bummer. I love ballads. Um, but they put out a ton of albums since then. Now the sad part, Henrik Ostergaard, their singer, if I understand right, was a big drinker. He
Mm.
died very young. I think it was 2010 or 11 at 48. But this band was just, and they never tried to change. It was always just like, hey, three chord, rough and ready, guitar driven rock. And I salute them for that. And what you were what you were saying about Jeff Paris, like this is kind of reminded me, but they never changed. And I hated bands who changed and
Yeah.
then would rag on their old stuff. Oh yeah, well, that's not really who we were back in the
Right.
80s. And you're like, well, that's when I fell in love with you. And now you're telling me like you don't like it? Like that always
Yeah.
pissed me off. So anyway,
Yeah, and those bands that did that probably had their most commercial success and made their livelihood from those of
right.
us who purchased their shit back then, and then they
Yeah.
rip on us, and it's insulting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get that. And this album, I don't know very well. I love the first two, and I
Yeah.
have them. And the first time, I think I was hooked because I was like, "Is that Stephen Piercy on the cover of the first one?" And I was like, "Oh wait, no, that can't be." And
Yeah.
then and but I really liked it because yes, it gave me that slight AC/DC vibe. I don't know this album, but those
Yeah.
song titles sound kind of serious. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like a little deeper than the '80s stuff. So I
Yep.
got to check that out. Probably pretty cool.
And you know what? That's you said like the lyrics.
Yeah,
And when people talk about the 90s period, I'm like, what I bands didn't have to abandon their sound. It was lyrically grow. You don't in 93, 92, 94. You don't need to be writing about she's only 17 or or like partying all the time.
yeah,
So I was like, hey, grow lyrically. But you don't need to completely ditch your
yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
Your sound we loved, grow lyrically. But so,
You know,
so yeah,
you should have been there. You should have been there pulling the puppet strings of these bands that totally fucked it up and sold out.
fuck, I was there in the background, but obviously I didn't have much pull. So
That's
speaking of wingers pull, anyway.
right.
All right. Okay, that's my number 9. What is your number 8?
Okay, so here's where I got shy. Welcome to the Madhouse. And this was featured on our cover songs, and I did kind of I kind of forgot all the facts about this band, and at one point I was like, I know this shit through and through. But anyway, this is the only major label album to feature John Ward on vocals, and he took over for Tony Mills, R.I.P. Both singers are fantastic. We talked about this, but I definitely encourage again, give it all you got. What a killer song! So if you want to check out the back catalog and like see all that killer stuff, like awesome video, awesome song, like the epitome of killer. But anyway, this album from '94 has a really freaky, scary album cover. If you get like I don't know if it's the American or the European version. I can't, I don't know which one. The one I have has like this evil, like exorcist looking chick on the cover. It's like,
Yep.
ugh, it's like, I thought I was an adult. I'm scared right now. Anyway, the album is packed with the killer hard rockers, very '80s big sound stuff. Check out songs Crazy, Angel, Girls Like You, Who Do You Think You Are? Who Do You Think You Are has this really cool guitar riff in it with at the 1 minute remaining in the song mark. Check out the riff. It's one of those, I don't know if you're a big Billy Idol guy, but in Eyes Without a Face and Flesh for Fantasy, like mid song, Steve Stevens busts into those two riffs where you're like, dude, this should have been a standalone song. Like
Right.
especially the Flesh for Fantasy part where he busts in the and it keeps going. You're like, fuck, this is killer. It kind of does that in this song. But anyway, shows you how much I like this shit. Um, but yeah, so they also gave me just kind of a glimpse about like how killer a band could be in '94. And then again, yeah, the Rolling Stones cover, they do great.
Oh,
So anyway, I really like this album. I know it ain't Tony Mills, but he moved on at that point and they got a really cool replacement. And I think it's actually my favorite Shy album. I know it the best, but no offense to Tony because he was great
yeah.
in TNT and this band. But I really, really like this album.
So this is like this album escaped me for a ton of years, and then for some reason, I think somewhere people were talking about cover songs, and then they
Mhm.
said Shy. I'm like, Shy? It's only rock
Yeah,
and roll? Like, where the hell is that from?
yeah,
1994, Welcome to the Madhouse. I'm like, what
yeah,
the fuck is that? And why did nobody tell me? So then I go check it out, and that's a seriously good album.
yeah,
And I like that, Misspent Youth had Give It All You Got.
yeah,
Excess All Areas is very good. I don't know that I have the entire Shy discography, but I have like 4 CDs, I think.
yeah.
So but yeah, I mean that's a solid album, and it just obviously 1994, and they were never the biggest band, though Give It All You Got should have like propelled them.
Yeah,
But
totally.
this is completely underground. So go check that shit out on YouTube. I actually, when you were talking about it, I just went to eBay because I don't think I have the CD, which
Oh, okay.
yeah, but it's like spendy. So I probably won't be getting the CD
Really?
anytime soon.
Really?
I'm sure it's pretty rare.
Oh, it's my nest egg, my kid's college fund. Perfect.
Okay, well, you're going to be going to a small college, but it is worth a few bucks. All right, that's awesome. Okay, my number 8. Uh, I've pimped the band Hanoi Rocks on here a bunch of times. Their debut album, Bang. It's just fun to say Bangkok Shocks, Saigon Shakes, Hanoi Rocks. You can't say that really fast. But their
Good luck.
debut album actually came out before Motley's Too Fast for Love. So, but they were, from Finland. So, they put out all these albums. The drummer gets in a car crash with Vince Neil. The band breaks up. Michael Monroe does some solo stuff in '89, but then he shows up during the dark years of hair metal in 1994 with a band called Demolition 23. And I remember first hearing about this because Slash, and Guns N' Roses were known for being huge fans of Hanoi Rocks. Um, but I remember an interview where somebody said, "Oh, Slash, what are you listening to these days?" And he's like, Michael Monroe's new band, Demolition 23. And I'm like, what? Because that album never came out in America. Well, now it has. It actually just got re-released on vinyl. You can find it on Amazon. But years ago, I ordered it from an import CD site. It's very, it's very punky
Huh.
mixed with hard rock metal. So that's not for everybody, but
Ah,
most
yeah.
people know it. Like I'm a big punk fan. Like I loved Guns N' Roses, the Spaghetti Incident with all the punk rock covers. Anyway, Michael Monroe and Sammy Yaffa from Hanoi Rocks were in that band. If
Mm.
I was going to give you 2 songs to check out, first start with Hammersmith Palais. Holy shit. That song is awesome. And then there's another song called Nothing's All Right, but it's basically an album full of straight up punk influenced rock. And if you think you like that kind of sound, check out Demolition 23.
Dude, I feel like a terrible fan. I've never even heard of that. So I've never been the biggest Hanoi guy. I know the infamous Michael Monroe, probably late '80s with the yellow Michael Monroe on top, and he looks real. Yeah, that one. That one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
like a
Yep.
really, really like a standout
I love
cover.
that cover. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I have it and I like it. So, but I've never even heard of this. So, and that's odd because I
Yeah.
feel like I've got it all.
I've said this, man. Michael Monroe, his voice is an acquired taste. It's not pretty. Hanoi had a ballad called "Don't You Ever Leave Me" that I liked, but I'm a ballad guy, and Michael Monroe's voice is pretty rough for ballads. So
I see.
people who like great singers, eh, Michael Monroe is just more of a gritty, just punch it out there instead of like, wow, what a great voice. So it's an acquired taste for some.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
All right, we're on your number 7. What do you got?
Okay, well, I'm bringing back the boys in House of Lords, but it ain't House of Lords. It's James Christian's solo album. Okay. So I touched on this before a little bit, but obviously a big House of Lords guy. I've talked about him a few times. But James Christian's Rude Awakening from 94. Okay, so this is one of those where you can just press play and you got this huge sound coming at you right away called Don't Start Me Up. That's the kick-off song of the album. And you're like, dude, where was this in the House of Lords days? Like, I love their first three, but this would have fit perfectly, probably on like Demons Down or something like that, like their 92 album. But anyway, so epic, Don't Start Me Up. This is an album laced with the hooky stuff, deep, uh, fantastically produced, ripping stuff. The ones that I can kind of talk about here are The Warden, Best Girl, Cold Day in Hell, Love Has No Mercy, and Woman Enough. Woman Enough was also played or covered by Alias on their second album. So there was a little bit of like song sharing with a lot of these guys back in the day. And I don't quite understand like who wrote what, but that's okay. It all sounded great. The rest are like a lot of heartfelt ballads and a lot of mid tempos, but I love how he can transition between like the chains of love and the I want to be loved, and then
Bubbles, man.
yeah, and then remember your name and stuff like that. So it's like he's just got such a diverse voice, and it's so great. Um, and then he's also married to Robin Beck, who I'm not sure if you know Robin Beck,
Yep.
but James be doing I.
You know, shit. I would know nothing about that album and
Oh,
probably don't even know that it existed. You might need to, what's it called again?
Rude Awakening.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I mean, obviously House of Lords, but
yeah,
I don't think I ever ventured into anything from his solo career. So
yeah. This might be above Demons Down in my
oh,
ranking, to be honest. I like Demons Down a lot. I love Sahara the most. I would
right.
say it would go Sahara, maybe this, then the self-titled House of Lords, then Demons Down, actually. So
Sure.
it's that strong and that good. There's a couple different album covers, so if you get tripped by that, but I would look it up
Sure.
tonight. It's
Okay.
great.
I'm going to. I'm going to. All right. Okay. My number 7. Man, I've talked about this band frequently in the last couple of episodes. I just did one with Brian from the Hairband Basement that I'm in the middle of editing. It'll probably be out tomorrow, but it was about albums that were highly anticipated and it'll be out by the time anybody's watching this, but were a letdown. And so Heartbreak Station was my album that was highly anticipated, but a letdown. It was too country-ish, too bluesy for me. There are some good songs on it, but a letdown. Well, I think Cinderella learned their lesson because in 1994, they came out with the criminally neglected Still Climbing. And you could tell that the band was like, okay, we heard what you were saying. Because even though it had the right balance of, hey, there's a little bit of that, but more of the hard rock guitar riffs, like Heartbreak Station, I think there was only like one or maybe two songs that really sounded like they could have fit on Long Cold Winter or Night Songs. This album was full of them. Bad Attitude Shuffle, Hot and Bothered, The Road's Still Long. There's more. There was and man, Tom Kiefer's got such a great ballad voice.
Yeah.
Through the Rain and Hard to Find the Words, which I'm kind of a mama's boy. Hard to Find the Words is like, a tribute to his mother.
Oh,
And so it's really emotional. came out in 1994. There was so little promotion for this. In fact, I was at like a media place, which was like CDs, DVDs. Didn't even know that there was a new Cinderella album coming out. I'm walking around and there's like one copy. I'm like,
Oh,
holy fuck, a new Cinderella album. So I buy it and it's great, but it doesn't chart. It doesn't do anything. You don't see ads from it. You don't see tons of articles. It was a different time, but man, Cinderella returned to form and it's a solid, solid album.
it's crazy that there was such a lack of promotion for that because they were right there with, they were almost at Motley Poison level, you know what I mean? And like for those two bands to put out albums in 93 and 94 respectively, um for this to like have none of the love that they received is so odd. And uh I like how they included Hot and Bothered on there because it was never featured on an album other than the Wayne's World soundtrack, which Hot and Bothered is my favorite Cinderella song. So I'm stoked that it was on there. I love that song, dude.
Yeah.
That thing's killer. So yeah, I love this album, man, and I really wish it would have been in place of Heartbreak Station, which I don't touch.
Yeah. And I think like you made like they should have been right in there with at least Poison and maybe Motley, but here's and I think I've talked about this before. Heartbreak Station, if that had been Still Climbing, and Heartbreak went platinum, but I think it only went platinum because everybody was so jazzed about Night Songs and Long Cold Winter that everybody bought it right away. But most people were disappointed. Well, Poison had three multi-platinum albums to start their career. If Heartbreak Station had gone multi-platinum, I think we'd be talking about Cinderella being, part of things like the stadium tour where Poison is. But because Heartbreak was a disappointment, Cinderella's more in line with like Warrant now, two very solid albums to start off, multi-platinum. Album three, even though Dog Eat Dog is amazing, that and Heartbreak Station, sales wise, were considered disappointments.
Right.
So that's what keeps Cinderella. And I felt like Cinderella should have been up there with Poison or Motley because, man, I love that band, but Heartbreak was disappointment. Still Climbing was not.
Exactly.
All right. What's your number 6?
So I got a band called Frontline. Have you ever heard of them?
I've heard of them and I know I've probably stopped on their shit on YouTube every now and then, but I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you a song right now.
Yeah. So the album is called State of Rock. It's from '94, and they kind of remind me of like an Unruly Child type of band.
Yep.
Um, but they're like just the perfect band with the hookiest songs. And again, like with the comparisons, once upon a time I was looking through Kane Roberts' Saints and Sinners album, and I wanted to kind of include it on a list I was doing. And I was like, okay, what songs am I going to talk about? And I'm like, okay, that one's killer. Okay, that one's killer. That one's killer. And I'm going through it in my head and I'm singing the choruses and I'm going, fuck, they're all killer. Like, I don't even know what songs to pick out. Same with this album. I swear, dude, like, this is one of those albums where, just like James Christian, boom, press play and let it go. And you never have to skip a song. A lot of people compare the singer to the Steve Perry from Journey,
Mm.
but he's kind of like a more ballsy Steve Perry. I don't mind Steve Perry, but he's not exactly my cup of tea. This guy's kind of in that realm of like the silky smooth, great range, but they have like enough balls to him where it kind of surpasses the Journey bubblegum stuff. But yeah, I dig this a million times over Journey. But it's as 80s it's as 80s as it gets for an album from '94, and they're a German band, and it's as if the '80s never ended in Germany. You know what I mean? So and I love it. Like other countries were like a few steps behind, and that's
Totally.
great. But Yeah, check them out. Their next album from '97 is also really good. So you could tell that they were really like a consistent, like I'm gonna remain true to form type of band. So yeah, check out both those albums. But this one, State of Rock, is fantastic.
I know of that album. Damn, now I'm I feel like I'm letting people down who are like, oh yeah, you're the hair metal guru. You don't know shit.
Not
On
even,
the
dude.
front line, you don't know James Christian. Anyway,
Hey, I
um,
didn't know Demolition 23.
right, right. But I also I love when somebody suggests a new album that I'm because I'm like, sometimes you're like, man, have I heard it all? And then you're like, no, wait a minute. There
No.
is a ton more out there that you need to learn about. So,
Oh, dude, it's never ending. This genre, if you're into this shit like we are, like I find stuff weekly. I'll be honest with you, and I'm
oh
like,
yeah.
dude, who were these guys? They recorded some shit in their mama's basement in '88, and it's fantastic. Like, how did this not get played or shown? But it's on a demo now. It's released now. It's scrubbed up and put out, and then you're
Yep.
like, oh yeah, I love
Ex-
this.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, okay. My number six. Oh, here's another. Geez, I just get like, oh man, this band should have been so big. And it's similar to this is another band that falls in the Dirty Looks AC/DC category. And I think you'll know of them. It's Rhino Bucket and their
Yeah,
1994 album, Pain. This is another. I got this cassette at that little PX when I was at AIT. So here's
nice.
three albums that I discovered that summer that I remember: Dirty Looks, Rhino Bucket, and this might, but I love this band, Collective Soul.
Yeah, they're
So
not bad.
yeah, so I just got the new Collective Soul album on CD. But comes out in 1994. Now, most people, if they know of Rhino Bucket, it's because they had a song called Ride With Yourself on the
Mhm.
Wayne's World 2 soundtrack.
Yeah,
And that song kicks ass. Go
yeah,
listen to Ride With Yourself. It's on their 1992 album, which I will be near the top of my 1992 list when we get there. Their 1992 album, Get Used to It. They also had a self-titled album in 1990. Now I know this band is much more in tune with AC/DC. I know the singer did get you got kind of tired of the oh you sound like AC/DC, and it's not a carbon copy replica. It's they definitely stand on their own. But okay, so some songs that you need to Kane and I Stand Before You are two phenomenal songs. But these two songs, I fucking worship these two songs. I Was Told and What You Expect. Oh, I don't get tired of those songs, man. I can still like I can put them on even just talking about them right now. I'm like, fuck. I Was Told, What You Expect. Geez, those songs should have just man, if and everybody knows I love AC/DC. If AC/DC had put out I Was Told or What Do You Expect on an album in the 90s, I'm sure they would have blown up. Okay, rant over. Go.
I love it, and I love this band. I can honestly say I need to go back and listen to those 2 songs, especially after you gave us the zoom in up front. This is good. This is the stuff. So,
Actually, I
I
was just
made
checking to see if I got any nose hair. No, I'm kidding.
I made a mental note. I'm gonna check those out, but yeah, dude, the AC/DC stuff is, like, obvious, whatever. It's the guitar tone, it's the simple chords, and it's the singer's voice.
Yes.
But, I mean, the recipe is laid out for that hard rock and blues rock stuff that works, so I can't blame them.
And there are a lot of bands who try to copy AC/DC, but it's not like simple. Like a lot of bands try and you're like, okay, it's not working. But George DeLevo is the vocalist. Man, he's like he's in the middle of Brian Johnson and Bon Scott. And I don't know. To me, the drummer is so important. Like they call it like playing behind the beat. I'm not a musician, I'm not a drummer, but that stuff that sounds that you think, well, that must be simple. Fucking anybody can pull that off. Not
Yeah,
anybody can. Rhino Bucket can.
yeah, Phil Rudd stuff, big time.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Do you hear that fucking whining?
Just this
It-
much.
Okay. All right. So Charlie's over there getting her boobies played with. All right.
Oh.
Okay. I should not be so inappropriate. Your number 5.
Okay, so my number 5 is my number 1, boys, being AC/DC Ball Breaker. So again, just like Winger, I could have made this my number 1, but I hate predictability, so I didn't wanna do that. So, they'll always be my number 1 band, and although there are other albums I like more than Ball Breaker, this one does mean a lot to me because, I got into them in '90 when I was a young man, during the Razor's Edge, and then I got the live album with the Angus Dollar in there.
Yep.
But this was the first like real studio album that I was like conscious and alive and there for, and just bought the CD, bought the tape, played it, memorized every word, every lyric, every song, and I love it. And it's the first concert I ever went to. And my dad took my brother and I to the San Jose Arena in 19 February of 1996, and I saw these guys, and it was just magic. So this is a very special album to me. Um, it's the last one that, like I said, I know note for note, so it also means a little something. I know Stiff Upper Lip fairly well, but this is it.
Right.
Um, Also, it was the last one where the guys kinda looked pretty young still, a lot of black hair, less wrinkles. Not the, founding father look that Angus is going for now. Uh I also attended my, first concert, so like I said, it's a special place in my heart. But Hard as a Rock, Whiskey on the Rocks, Hail Caesar, and then Ball Breaker. Like, that's a really cool title track. And Brian would ride the wrecking ball live in concert. And I swear, dude, every time I watch the No Bowl live from Madrid, it's the
Mm.
same exact, intro, concert, the whole bit, the set list as they did. I get chills. They open with Back in Black, and it's just like I'll just like I teleport back to that point. And actually, that the first concert I ever went to in San Jose is on YouTube and it's filmed.
No, no
Um,
shit.
so it's kind of cool to relive it. They
Yeah.
did a really cool thing where they played down payment blues and they let it ring and they go right into the jack. And it's
Right.
like, oh, like that part, like just little things like that that
Yeah.
only the big fans can really think about. But this is the year that I met ACDC as
Oh
well.
yeah, that's right.
And so again, that's a long story that should be its own episode, but
Yeah.
it was divine. It wasn't just a by chance. That was Bond blessing young Ryan.
That'd be a good episode, like stories about the bands that you met or best concerts, and you could add that kind of anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
I've said this about AC/DC. AC/DC is kind of like sex, even when it's not that great, it's still pretty good. So that album is it's not my favorite in the grand scheme of AC/DC, but AC/DC has never put out an album that I disliked. Like, so I like Ball Breaker and Hard as a Rock and all that stuff, you know. I remember getting it and being like, hey, this is great. It's not as good as, well, nothing was ever for me gonna beat Back in Black or Highway to Hell. But I was like, it's probably not as good as The Razor's Edge, but it still
Yeah,
got played a shit ton because AC/DC is AC/DC, you know?
yeah, exactly.
So I'm an AC/DC absolutist. I buy everything that they put out on the day it's released, and I keep praying, please give us one more Angus. There ain't going to be too many more rounds or too many more bullets left in the gun, but I keep
No,
hoping for one more. So see what happens.
yep.
All right. Okay. Awesome choice. Okay. My number 5, truly a misunderstood um album in the grand scheme of this band's career, in the grand scheme of hair metal. Some people shit on it. There's a lot of people like on X, Metal Mike and A Fish,
Yeah.
who is a guy that passed away, but the Motley Crue 1994 album, you know, here in, I mean, you've talked about like the songs off of The Decade of Decadence, Primal Scream, and you know, coming right off of Dr. Feelgood. Well, there's a lead singer change. They bring in John Corabi from the Scream, and a lot of people were excited about this. And you know, the album comes out, it it, it goes gold, but for Motley Crue, I mean, their last Dr. Feelgood had gone 6 times platinum.
Right.
So they got to get back together with Vince. But man, this is a super underrated album. And like I said, there's a lot of people, many people will claim that this is the best Motley Crue album. It's it's not. I like Too Fast for Love and Shout at the Devil, but it might be up there in my top 3 or 4. So Poison Apples is ultra catchy, power to the music. This stuff is definitely heavier. So if you're going in expecting Dr. Feelgood, it's definitely influenced by the times, but done very well. There's a couple ballads or ballad-esque songs, Misunderstood and Drift Away. I really love John Corabi's voice. I like the grit in it. So, you know, it's too bad. I would have loved to have seen what could have happened if they would have recorded another album. But 94 from Motley Crue is my number 5 and totally underrated.
Yeah. So
I know
I,
you're not a big fan.
yeah, I know. It's like
Okay.
it's the hair metal mistakes thing. Like I put that as one of them, and like I said in that, I just want to reiterate, like I know it's solid shit. I know it's quality hard rock,
Yeah.
but it's never going to appeal to me. And I've tried, dude. Like I've seriously tried because I'm such a dedicated Motley guy.
Yeah.
But then I wonder if I'm a dedicated Vince guy. But I don't like Carved in Stone, so I don't know. I'm all fucked up. But like.
There's one person who likes Carved in Stone. It's Metal Mike, and I still wonder what his
And I've
issue
tried
is.
I've tried with that too because upon his suggestion, and I was like, "Well, I could maybe get." Honestly, I could probably get into that a little bit more than this one because it's Vince. So maybe I'm such a Vince guy. I don't do this, but whatever. I know it's quality shit, and I know, like, let's just say this was a brand new band, and then they came out in '94 with Karabi, and I had no idea who Motley Crue was. I'd
Right.
probably be like, "This is pretty killer."
Yeah.
But because I have such a history, my mental bias, I can't get past it. And I know it's good, but it ain't my good.
It, it was a grower for me. Like when I first got it, I'm like, oh fuck, here's Motley Crue doing grunge. I was kind of pissed off. But it was an album that you know, put it away, and then probably a couple years later, I'm fucking bored. I'll just throw that thing in. And then, you know, oh, I kind of like that song. And then a couple more, oh, there's a couple, you know, so you have to distance it from the old
Yeah,
Motley Crue catalog, which isn't always easy to do.
totally. And you
So
got guys like you and Metal Mike that are super into it. So I'm like, maybe I'm fucked
probably. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
up.
There are so many albums where I'm doing this. I'm like, dude, I tried, man.
I know.
I tried, and it just ain't gonna work. And so, all right, that was my number 5. What's your number 4?
All right. Well, speaking of predictability, here's where I got Crocus.
You're the biggest Crocus fan, and I think that's awesome.
So this one, I bet there's about 6 people that know this one, and it's "To Rock or Not to Be" from 1995. And, I think it's great. I mean, the reunited Crocus after their '88 album Heart Attack, which we talk about and we love.
Yep.
It didn't exactly turn their career around, even though it should have because it was killer. But
Yeah.
anyway, this album is also special to me because this is when I got into Crocus. So, I bought the best of, then I bought Headhunter, and then I got their new album, and I thought, "Oh my god, like, these bands come out with Ball Breakers and To Rock or Not to Be's, like, it's never gonna end. They rip forever. This is gonna be killer." And this is one of them. I got the German import because that's all I could find
Yeah.
back in the day, and it was probably super expensive. I had to beg my mom for the money or whatever. But anyway, I played it through and through. Uh, just like Ball Breaker, I know it front to back. Um, Solid stuff. No BS. Catchy hard rock. Check out Lionheart, Flying Through the Night, Talking Like a Shotgun, Natural Blonde, and the title track To Rock or Not to Be. It to me, it's like it's a toss up between Headhunter, The Blitz, Heart Attack, and this. Like those four albums,
Oh,
I don't know if I can rank them. Put a gun to my head, they'd be
yeah.
like Desert Island. Pick your one of these four Crocus albums. I'd be like, I'm dead because I can't figure it out. So anyway, it's that good. So the album cover absolutely sucks,
Yeah.
but give it a shot if you don't know it.
I know that what I know that album. Was it 95 or 94, did you say?
95.
95.
Yeah.
And it wasn't gonna matter anyway, but in 95, a album title like To Rock or Not to Be,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of like getting into Tesla bust a nut
Yeah.
category.
Totally.
But yeah, that's such a steady band, and I hate that they're so forgotten in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, and I love Mark Storaci's voice. I mean, that dude freaking rips. So I need to go check because I know of that album. I don't know that I've listened to it.
It,
So
it's it's on Spotify now. It wasn't for a long time. It's on there with a different album cover, which is probably a good thing. Um, and Storace gets more into the Bon Scott growl
okay.
than the early 80s like soaring vocals. So if you're more into the AC/DC, probably like a 78 to like 81 AC/DC
Yeah.
feel, this is the album.
That's what I'm into.
There you go. You'll
Right.
like it.
All right. I'm all over that one. Okay. My number four. Um, man, this is almost a super group for 1993. Stephen Piercy from Rat,
Oh
Fred
yeah.
Coury from Cinderella, Frankie Wilsix from the Sea Hags, who are kind of an
Oh yeah.
underrated hair metal band. But the band, not the greatest band name, I don't think, for 1993, Arcade. But
Hmm.
that album, the Arcade self-titled debut, is criminally underrated. I shit you not. I put this album right up next to Out of the Cellar and Invasion of Your Privacy, which are probably my two favorite. It would be in the top three if you put all of Rat's music along with this Arcade album. And I'm a huge Rat fan, but
Yeah.
this album is so damn solid. So here's Dancing with the Angel. And I mean, it's not like it's rock songs, and Stephen Piercy, even though he's got kind of he does some great ballads on here. So rock songs, Dancing with the Angels, Nothing to Lose,
Yeah.
Screaming SOS, then ballads, So Good, So Bad, Mother Blues. It just, again, horrible band name. The cover, and I'll put it in the video, the cover is shit. It's just
Yeah.
like you just see these red lips of this girl's face. I'm like, what were you guys thinking?
Yeah.
So they obviously put their money into the music and not into the artwork or the band name or whatever. So, but I still can regularly listen to this album. It doesn't grow old. Piercy is phenomenal on this, and I can't hail it enough. Arcade, self-titled 1993. It freaking rips.
Is it Fred Curry, the drummer?
Yep. Fred Coury from Cinderella. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. Really cool album. I have the Rat R off of Detonator and Reach for the Sky tattooed on my back.
No
And
shit.
yep, it's the circle with the R and then my last name.
Oh, what the fuck is that?
Oh, I think I did this. Holy shit. I think it just took away my anything metal I've ever done.
Oh, okay. Hey, I didn't do that. I'm not a pussy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Wow. But yeah, and it has my last name initials underneath. It was perfect. It was the band I love, the first letter of my name, and then I put my initials underneath. So it's just my initials. So it's
Hey, whip
perfect.
off that shirt and let's see that shit. No, I'm
Dude, I
kidding.
have I have the shirt too. I
Oh, okay.
okay, that's it.
Yeah.
But I have the City to City Rat shirt off
Yep.
of, Reach for the Sky, and it has the big R right here.
Yep.
One of my favorite shirts. Maybe next
Yep.
next time I'll wear
There you
it.
go. There you
So, yeah,
go.
big fan. Yes, agreed. Not the best album or, band title at the time.
No, no. They did put out an album in 94 too called A2,
Yeah,
much heavier, much darker, not nearly as good. There's some okay stuff in there.
yeah,
So, Piercy obviously goes back to Rat, eventually does a bunch of solo shit, but
yeah.
man, the Arcade album, wrong time, right album.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So
Cool.
your number 3.
Alright, here's where I got Danger Danger, Cockroach. So, this is the, Ted Poley and Paul Lane double album, if you will. They're the same songs sung by 2 different singers, Ted Poley, Paul Lane, and I tell you what, love them both. Um, this is from '93. I had to confirm that because I always thought it was '92, but on their website it says '93. Um, but again, this is it's tough because I can't tell you on this album
It's tough. No, I'm
it's
just kidding.
tough. It is tough in that spelling. I can't tell you on this album who I like more. I kind of favor Paul Lane, but again, I love Danger Danger. So the first 2 albums I couldn't picture with anybody else. But because Paul Lane rips so hard both with his solo stuff and on this album, he really kicks ass. So I kind of favor the Paul Lane version on this one. But anyway, um let's see here. If you want to check out some songs, look at Good Time, Going, Going, Gone, When She's Good, Shot of Love. And one of my all time favorite ballads is called Afraid of Love. And that's one of those ballads that's like, that's a well written song that's almost mid tempo, but it's still a ballad because it's got the word love in there. But it stands, this thing stands right up next to the first 2 albums.
Yep.
And I actually think that consistency wise, I think Screw It's still probably my favorite,
Yep.
but this one is my second favorite probably.
Yeah. So I'm a huge Danger Danger fan, and Screw It, even though there are some weird parts like the rap
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
man, there was some phenomenal songs on that, and I love the debut too. Um, Paul Lane had a solo album called Stick It in Your Ear, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I have that on CD. So I do his voice has a little bit more grit
Yeah.
than Ted Poley. So I'm always intrigued by that. So I've listened to both of those albums. I I think I favor the Paul Lane, but I feel bad saying that because
I
man,
know. Me too.
Ted Poley has put out some phenomenal shit. So it's been a while since I've listened to either one of those. So I feel like I need to revisit it because I just, again, some of these bands that were very poppy, early Warrant, early Danger Danger, like, man, some of them put out their best material in these darker years,
Oh,
like
yeah.
93 to 95. So
Well,
yeah, so I need to revisit that.
even like look at that Tokyo Motor Fist,
Yeah.
and Poli is like dedicated, dude. Like, because look at where Danger went with Paul Lane after this album. It's good stuff, but it isn't. It's like '94 Motley. It's like it's not exactly my cup of tea, but it's good stuff.
Yep.
And it's got Paul Lane, so you're like, it's got to be good. And it's got Bruno on it, and he's a great songwriter.
Yep.
But it ain't like I said, it's not pop rock cup of tea. But Tokyo Motor Fist, look at the Trickster dude,
Yep.
Steve Brown. You got Steve Brown, you got Ted Poley, and they that album fooled me. Like it came out, it came out on and it came up on my Spotify once, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit, like did I miss something? Like what is this old Danger? And I was like, oh, the new Tokyo Motor Fist.
Yeah.
Like this is true to form good shit. Terrible, terrible band name. Speaking of terrible band names, I don't know what they were thinking on that one, but yeah, love Ted Poley.
Yeah. I've listened to the Tokyo Motor Fist probably once. I need to revisit it. I'm a firm believer that you have to listen to an album at least like 4 times before you bail on it,
Oh,
'cause some of my favorite albums were growers, like I said. So I need to go back because I know a lot of people talk up that Tokyo Motor Fist and
yeah,
Steve Brown, Ted Poley shit. So yeah, I got to
yeah,
get on that. All right.
right on.
We are on my number 3. Getting old's a bitch, but Ryan wouldn't know it because he's young. Look at this.
Oh, dude.
Oh my gosh. Like I just want to keep them all. Cute.
That's awesome.
I know there's 8 of them there.
Dude,
Charlie's staring at me like, bring them back.
that'll get you 8,000 more views.
Oh my God. I know. I just need to make a bunch of YouTube shorts. Oh, that's a good idea.
See?
And I can like show hair metal posters and then puppies.
Yeah, you can name them all different hairband guys.
That's right. I'm gonna name you Jackal. Okay, my number 3. Here we go again. Gotta talk about Lillian Axe one more time. I know, I know, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna eventually get to more episodes where Lillian Axe isn't covered. Today is not that day. In 1993, they released their 4th album, Psycho Schizophrenia. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's the 4th in a major, phenomenal 4-album run. Starts with 88's self-titled, 89's Love and War, 92's Poetic Justice, and continues through this. Ron Taylor made it in my top 10 hair metal vocalists. Steve Blaze writes the songs and the lyrics, and the guy's a genius. Some songs: Crucified, Moonlight in Your Blood, Those Who Pray, and there's a rock song called Now You Know that has one of the most awesome acoustic intros and some of the best lyrics. It's just amazing. And then there's 2 acoustic ballads, The Needle in Your Pain and The Day I Met You. The Needle in Your Pain, I used to think was about like knowing somebody who was a drug addict, but it's actually about somebody who had cancer. And the song is about the person saying, if I could, I would take the needle and your pain so you didn't have to go through this. So amazing song, amazing band. There, I'm done.
Well played, dude. This is one of those albums that I bought because it was available. For years I couldn't get the first 2 because they were out of print.
Yes. Took
And I
forever.
yeah, and then again, it's like I said earlier with Winger, Warrant, White Lion, Europe, House of Lords, the big 3, the first 3 Lillian albums are like the classic big 3. They're still very hair bandy. They start to kind of transition a little bit in this album. And when I first bought it, I was like a little bit thrown off, but
Mhm.
I've come to really appreciate this album. So well played.
Another one that to me was a grower. I loved the ballads right away, but I was like, it's not quite as, hard rocky as like Love and War or even Poetic Justice. But yeah, so you had to give it a couple listens, but it did change a bit with the times, but didn't completely abandon. And then, and lyrically, wow, what a gigantic jump. I mean, their lyrics were always good, but by Psycho Schizophrenia, um, just really deep emotional stuff. So,
Totally.
all right, that's good because damn, I don't want the viewers to be like, here fucking we go again. Do I gotta hear? But so hopefully people are just getting into Lillian Axe and they're like, yes, more Lillian Axe.
Yeah.
Because, all
Oh,
right, look at that fucking Lillian Axe and explosions going off. Ooh, those explosions kind of remind me of my sex life. What's up? All right, that's good. Okay.
well, hey, dude, I'm right there with you. All I do is talk about James Christian, Unruly Child, AC/DC, Crocus, but I am more diverse. I mean, look at the next guy I'm going to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I've brought up some stuff that I've never talked about. And so, okay. With that, let's go on to your number 2.
Okay, so here's where I got my boy Vince doing Exposed from 1993. And while Motley was screwing around with whatever they were doing and doing Motley 94, Vince was still being a true 80s ripper and coming out with Exposed. Um, Teaming up with Steve Stevens and a bunch of other 80s rippers that looked killer and sounded killer. You got Sister of Pain, You're Invited But Your Friend Can't Come. It's one of those hits that I'll never turn off ever. Love that hit. Um, Killer video. And like I said before, the only problem is in the video and in the original version, they stop all the instrumentation after the post solo chorus and they all do the whoa
Yeah.
with nothing underneath it.
Yep.
And then they kick back in with a you're invited, but your friend can't come. And it's like full music, full
Yep.
everyone, full band, but they stop it in the video and on the soundtrack. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm bummed they didn't do it on Exposed. But anyway, that's me being a picking apart this album.
Right.
Fine Fine Wine has one of those just sexy bass intros that's like very Billy Idolish. So I figured that's a Steve Stevens influence there, perhaps. And a good ballad called Forever. And I think that Forever is far better than Time for Change off of Dr. Feelgood. That is the throwaway off of Dr. Feelgood. And if they would have had this on there, maybe Dr. Feelgood would have been like 8 times platinum, maybe 7 times. But anyway, so I love Vince. I love this album. This album has been one of those as the years go on, people see this album and go, dude, true to form shit.
Yeah.
Like this didn't waver whatsoever.
Right.
And I preach it to this day and rip it to this day.
That the Exposed album makes me love Vince Neil because it was 1993 and where a lot of people were changing. He
Yeah.
was like, fuck, this is who I am.
Yeah.
So take it or leave it. And I took it because I love this album. I
Yeah.
would I think it may have gone gold. I'm not sure. But I would just love to know what would have happened if Motley Crue released Exposed
Yeah.
in 1993. I mean, and you're invited, but your friend can't come, which I love,
Yeah.
was a hit. But if it's a Motley Crue song, maybe it's a more
Oh, yeah.
major hit. I think other songs stand a better, because there's something to be said for the Motley Crue name versus just the Vince Neil name. So I
Right.
completely agree with you. And now I will say that in 1995, when he released Carved in Stone, it made me love Vince a little bit less. It was a shit show,
Yeah.
but Exposed, man. And I mean, he had a great band. Vicky Fox was on drums from
Yeah.
Enough's Enough. And Vicky Fox is probably the best looking dude in a hair metal band. I mean, that dude looks like he's a chick model. And
Totally.
and Steve Stevens on guitar. So yeah, uh, man, I can't say enough about that. And great call.
Cool.
All right, okay, my number two. I think, well, maybe not. I think I'm gonna surprise a lot of people here, because usually when you talk about the band Every Mother's Nightmare,
Mm.
people talk about the 1990 debut, a semi hit with a great ballad called Love Can Make You Blind. Um, Walls Come Down, there was a video for it. It wasn't really a hit, but got some rock radio airplay. Um, there's a Charlie, everybody missed you so much. Look at how pretty you are. Yeah, you're my big girl. You gotta go potty? You have to do a potty? You have to do a potty, or maybe you just want to come over because you're very famous on YouTube. Yes, everybody loves you. Anyway, there's a great cover of the Charlie Daniels band, Long Haired Country Boy. So I love that album. But in 1993, they come out with the album Wake Up Screaming. And I easily that album, I love this album much more than the debut. And now I'll say it. I put Wake Up and Screaming along with Psycho Schizophrenia, along with Motley Crue 94 and bands like that that changed with the times in a way that just worked. Their lyrical content did get much more serious and dark, and I do think that there was some addiction problems in that band starting around that time. But House of Pain was the first single. It's lyrically, it's definitely very grungy, but musically, it's a progression from their debut. Um, I Hate Myself, Good Die Young. And then there's two great ballads, Already Gone and I Needed You. Um, so man, this band doesn't it, that they were never big. Their debut didn't go gold. I think it might have sold a couple 100,000 copies, which isn't bad. Even for back then, it was enough to know you were going to get another album. I don't think this thing did anything. Every Mother's Nightmare has in the last whatever years reformed. I think only the singer Rick Rule is in the band. They put out some stuff that I don't think is bad, but Wake Up Screaming, man, from 1993, I can't say enough about that album.
This band always seemed like the type of band that really wanted to be hard, kind of thrashier shit, and they were probably talked into the level Make You Blind, you
Right.
know? Because the rest of that first album, it was nothing like that ballad.
Oh, totally.
It was like, had they been more Sebastian-y, a little bit more Skid Row-y like they were on that ballad, they probably would have garnered way more success,
Yep.
but you could tell they really wanted to be hard motherfuckers. So,
Yeah.
like, this album I bought, and I'm guilty of not getting to know it as well as I should because
Yep.
I was always so hooked on the first one.
Yep.
So this is one of those where I need to do my homework and figure this one out because it's probably going to really impress me at this point.
I think it will. Um, it's funny that you mentioned Sebastian Bach because
Yeah.
their first single, Walls Come Down, off the
Yeah.
debut, if you watch that video, to me, that looks like a singer who's like, fuck man, I'm gonna try to be Sebastian Bach. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that he was copying, but it just, his hair was similar. He was really trying to be the energetic, wild front man, which hey, I mean, that's what a good front man can do. So anyway, yeah, he kind of had the look, kind of
Yeah.
had the aura, but
Yeah.
man, the band deserved better. But go check out
Yeah.
1993's Wake Up Screaming.
Yeah.
All right, we're down. You're number one.
That's right. Okay. So I got some legends here. I got the Scorpions hitting me with Face the Heat from 1993. And to me, the Scorpions had the 79 to 93 run
Yep.
where it was like untouchable. Like that was such a run for my boys here in the Scorps. And you got Love Drive to Face the Heat. It was perfect. So I got into the Scorps around 1995, so this album was still pretty fresh. I
Yep.
obviously knew the big hits, but I never really dug that deep into these guys. But at this point, this is probably my most well known and through played Scorpions album that I've ever owned. And it's probably because of when I bought it.
Yeah.
And it's to me, it's like the Scorpions getting super hard, but still appealing to their older fans. I love the aggression of this album. Got that signature sound, but like the big hook still. So this was the last one to feature Herman on drums, and they had a new bass player in there. But if you want to check out some songs, I'm sure people know this, but Someone to Touch, Hate to Be Nice, Nightmare Avenue, Alien Nation obviously has that huge guitar. No Pain, No Gain has an even bigger guitar sound, in my opinion. Um, I just think it's a really good version of the Scorpions. Cool image, good look, cool album cover. They kind of like ditched the neons that they had on Savage Amusement, which I love Savage Amusement, and I love the next one, but this one is like I don't know. This is just like a perfect growing phase for the Scorps. Yeah, Crazy World was great, but in my opinion, this is still my like first and foremost 1993, 1995, and Scorpions' Choice album.
Yeah. So that was like I never bought it back in the day. I never cared to listen to it. It's been in the last couple of years where I've started to realize that, man, a lot of my favorite albums from a lot of these bands are their shit after 1991,
Yeah,
the 92, 93, 94, 95. So so in the last couple of years, I've started to revisit Face the Heat
yeah,
and realize that shit, that's a solid album,
yeah,
So yeah, it took me a while, but I finally got on board, and yeah, it's a solid choice.
yeah. It's got more balls and it kind of showcases everyone in like a thicker sound versus like Crazy World was true to form in of that year. But
Yeah.
this is bigger and deeper. It's like pull, dude. It's like it kind of comes full circle. Like number 10 was pull, number 1 is Scorps, and they're both from 93, but they did it right. They made it raw, they
Yep.
made it hard. Didn't lose any hooks. The sound was great and huge. And I don't know if it was a new addition of the bass player on this album. I don't know. But this is one of those where you just, again, press play. And if you really want to get fired up, check it out. And then there's also I don't know if you know this, I'm sure you do, but the hidden track, if you let the very last song play, it goes into an Elvis cover, I believe.
I
And
didn't know
it's
that because I always
okay.
listen to shit on YouTube, so I don't know that I ever
Oh,
let it get there.
yeah, so the end of the CD, you just let it play, and,
Okay.
like, 15 seconds of dead space,
Okay.
there's them doing an Elvis track.
No shit.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the song, but
Right.
it's pretty cool just to listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a good job of toughening up their sound,
Yeah,
crunching up their guitar, but again, not abandoning completely where they came from
right.
on that album. So, uh, Metal Mike and I were just talking about, I think Crazy World, uh, Tease Me, Squeeze Me or whatever, but
"Tease Me, Please." Yeah, yeah.
we were kind of shitting on that song. So, um,
I know, he hates that song, that's one of my
yeah.
favorites.
And I, I've said before, like I didn't I liked the hits in the 80s, but I was always like, they're a 70s band and I'm an
Yeah,
80s guy. So it wasn't till years later that I really started revisiting all the Scorpions album. And I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Because I love the Scorpions now.
yeah.
Okay. My number one, this will surprise nobody because it's Warrant with Ultraphobic. I know you're not, I know you kind of left Warrant after 92, and that's completely fine because when I bought Ultraphobic the day it came out, and there was a chick that I was kind of into, and she was babysitting. She invited me over, and I'm like, we got to listen to the new Warrant album. And she was like, Warrant? Like Cherry Pie Warrant? And I'm like, yeah, like Cherry Pie Warrant, but this is their new album. And so anyway,
How'd it go that night, though?
huh?
How'd it go that night?
Not bad. Not bad for a couple of weeks. Um, but I was disappointed when I first put it on. I'm like, son of a bitch. Warrant went grunge too. And in a way they did. Okay. Like I've said before, Dog Eat Dog's my favorite Warrant album. They struck the perfect mix of getting a little bit more modern, but not completely abandoning their sound. Ultraphobic is Warrant going grunge. But when especially the more you know about Janie Lane's history, his drinking problem, his life falling apart, once you know that, hey, he wasn't faking that dark shit that's in Ultraphobic, it then I start, and I mean, most people know, like I did a video about me and Janie Lane. My life was kind of falling apart too. So I really started to understand those dark lyrics. So the band had, Eric Turner was still in the band, Jerry Dixon was still in the band, but on drums was James Kotak, and hopefully
Yeah.
I pronounced that right, from Kingdom Come, later drummed for the Scorpions. Rick Steyer from Kingdom Come was on guitar, but I'll just throw out a couple songs. Ultraphobic, Chameleon is maybe my favorite
Yeah.
rock song. Ride Number Two, and Undertow. Now, most hair metal fans know the ballad Stronger Now. In fact, shit, I have Stronger Now tattooed on my right shoulder. I also have I Saw Red tattooed on my right arm. So Stronger Now is an amazing ballad. But there is another ballad called High that I think is almost as strong as any ballad that Warrant ever did, and Warrant was great at ballads. So if you don't know this album, and maybe you're like, the rock songs are a little too grungy for me, I get it. Go check out the ballad High. It will floor you. So you know, it's really they put out another album called Belly to Belly that had some decent moments, but also you can tell Janie Lane is kind of falling apart. A lot of that album sounds like a guy who's getting ready to commit suicide, which I
Mm.
don't say that with any sort of joking. It's really sad. They break up after that, and Janie Lane dies in 2011. And you can there was a lot of darker moments on Dog Eat Dog. Ultraphobic got even darker. Um, but there was that one glimmer of hope with Stronger Now, being like, hey, I've been through a lot of shit, and I'm going to use that to make me stronger. Obviously, that's not what really happened, but again, grunge influenced. But if you listen to it not expecting cherry pie, you'll find that there's a lot of great songs on that album. Okay, I'm done.
That's killer, dude. It makes me want to put all my bias aside and check it out again, because there are songs that I have listened to on that album. And I'm like, there's my boy. There's my boy shining through. I could tell Janie's got his touch written all over this. This is great stuff. So I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna really dig into it, and I'm probably gonna fall in love with it.
Yeah. When people tell me they hate it, I completely get it. Like if somebody says they hate Dog Eat Dog, I kind of go, dude, you got to listen to it.
Oh
But when they say they don't like Ultraphobic, I'm like, man, I didn't like it either, and I can readily see that, some people are not, I mean, I hope that you check it out again and maybe at least find a few songs,
totally.
but I understand. So, but and in around those tours, I was I got on stage with the band. I got to hang out backstage. I got to drink with them. And so part of that helped me go closer to because I was like, they became my band. Like
Yeah,
the band that ooh, fucking balloons. All right. The band that I gravitated to because they were so welcoming, and they were way less popular, but that helped a guy like me to get up front, and they would notice my tattoos, and I got to be put in places that not everybody would be get to put into.
yeah.
So that's my number one.
Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to actually dig into that one.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm seriously like, now I'm like, okay, Jeff Paris, James Christian, and part of, again, one of my favorite parts of doing this is hearing people who are passionate about albums that I don't know.
Yeah,
Because now I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna, in my downtime tomorrow, I know what I'm gonna do. Hey, those of you, if you're still out there watching, hey, tell us the albums that we missed. Tell us, maybe give us your opinions about some of the albums that we talked about. And as always, would love it if you like and subscribe and all that stuff.
yeah.
Ryan, again, we're kind of doing a weekly thing. I love it because you have a lot of interesting opinions, and you introduced me to a lot of bands that I need to know about.
Well, I got a few honorables if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, let's go into the honorables.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
dude. So I got Harem Scarum again doing Mood Swings. Really solid album. Retroactive Def Leppard, Van Halen Live, and Van Halen Balance. Have you ever heard of Crown of Thorns with
Heard of them, don't know their music.
yeah, John Beauregard? Really cool. He's got the blonde
Yep,
mohawk. He was like a songwriter for Kiss and whatnot.
yep.
Really, really cool album. Sabotage had some great stuff. Um, a band called Red Dawn, Arcade. Slaughter had Fear No Evil, which I really ended up really liking a lot. Ingve had Seventh Sign. YNT had Musically Incorrect, which was a really cool comeback in '95. Axel Rudy Pell, Foreigner, Mr. Moonlight. They had Lou Graham back.
Yep.
Um, Goddard, Dial Hard. And Goddard is one of those like no one in the United States gives a shit, but they're huge in Switzerland and Europe and whatnot.
Yep.
And then a band called Jaded Heart. I'm not sure if you've ever
Yep.
checked them out, but they're like as Bon Jovi as it gets. On like
Yes.
if you listen to their debut from '94, the first words out of this guy's mouth, you'll be like, "That's fucking Jovi from '86," and it's Jaded Heart. And
Now I
so
gotta check it out.
it's really, really solid. And they have a string of solid albums, like true to form solid shit. So Jaded Heart is one of those where I'm like, dude, I can get into these fellas. So yeah, those are my honorables.
I need because I know that band and I know I've listened to them in the past, but there's another one I need to revisit.
Yeah,
Okay,
totally.
here's mine. Enough's Enough, Animals with Human Intelligence. Their third album and their first three are so super solid.
Yeah.
Saigon Kick Water.
Yeah.
Man, Matt Kramer, the vocalist on the first two albums was gone, but Jason Byler, it's like you can't even tell it's a different singer. Great album. Taiketo, Strength in Numbers, which I know you've talked about. Van Halen, Balance, and then Dokken, Dysfunctional, and
Hmm.
LA Guns, Vicious Circle are my honorable mentions.
Very good. Yeah. That would you talk about the God, what's the one? Oh, Water by
Yep,
Saigon Kick.
yep.
Metal Mike preaches that album, and I actually
Oh,
checked it out. It's pretty cool, dude. Like,
yeah,
it's another one that fits into that like psychoschizophrenia,
yep.
ultraphobic type thing where you're like, shit, like this is kind of them growing up, and it sounds pretty damn good.
And I'll probably, but I loved their self-titled debut.
Yeah,
And then they had a big hit on their second album called Love Is on the Way. That
yeah,
second album is also, but I their third album, Water, is it's my second favorite album after the debut. Anyway,
very
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Cool.
solid stuff. Okay. Ryan, thanks a lot for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's great. I
Ab-
appreciate
ab-
it.
Absolutely. We'll continue on next week. Thank you everybody for watching. Hey, like, comment, or don't. I just appreciate you being here for whatever amount of time you can be. My name is Anthony. They call me the guru. Until the next episode, take care.